Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling, I think, one of the most interesting characters I've encountered in fantasy,
Oh, yeah,
Kvothe.
for sure.
So we've got a pretty good set of sources, I think.
Yeah.
We're working with excerpts from the Kingkiller Chronicle.
Right.
So that's the Name of the Wind and the Wise Man's Fear.
Yep.
And we also have a few little snippets from the author Patrick Rothfuss about the novella he wrote,
Okay.
The Slow Regard of Silent Things,
Yeah.
which kind of touches on the world of Kvothe in a little bit of a different way.
Okay.
But so I guess what we're trying to do is, or our mission, should we accept it, is to figure out what made Kvothe Kvothe.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, he is such an enigmatic figure in these books,
Yeah.
and so much of what we know about him is shrouded in mystery and, these sort of fantastical tales.
And he's very much an unreliable narrator.
Totally.
So one of the places I think we have to start is with his background,
Okay.
where he came from,
Sure.
and that's the Edema row.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating about that is that it's not just like a backstory, right?
Right.
It's not just like, oh, he came from this place, but it really is the foundation for who he becomes later on.
Yeah.
Rothfuss really immerses us in the culture of the Edema. Their lives are filled with music and storytelling and performance.
Right, they're like traveling performers.
Yeah, exactly. And they have this really unique custom that I find so intriguing, which is that they watch each other's hands instead of their faces.
Like a nonverbal language.
Yeah, it's like a whole other way of communicating and understanding emotion.
Yeah, so it's like he grows up with this built-in sense of empathy and observation.
Right, and that's huge when you think about how adept he is later on at reading people and navigating social situations.
Totally. It's like it's all there from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like how that upbringing must have instilled in him like a deep respect for both tradition and individual expression.
Oh, for sure. You see that duality throughout his character, that tension between honoring the past and forging his own path.
Yeah.
But, we can't talk about the Edema without addressing the elephant in the room.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it all goes sideways.
Exactly. The tragic turning point in Kvothe's life.
That's Chandrian.
The brutal murder of his troop by the Chandrian.
It's, like you said, it's a gut-wrenching moment in the story. And I don't know about you, but I think you can really feel its ripple effects throughout the rest of his life.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a source of pain, it's a catalyst,
Right.
It fuels his ambition, his insatiable hunger for knowledge, his determination to uncover the truth about these mysterious figures.
Just like that experience almost like becomes his origin story in a way.
In a way, yeah, it shapes him so profoundly, and it's central to understanding Kvothe's drive, his relentless pursuit of knowledge and power. It's almost as if he needs to, arm himself with every skill imaginable, not just for revenge, but to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again.
It's like he has to master everything.
Exactly.
And you see that drive come out full force when he finally makes it to the university.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting period in his life because on one hand, you see his raw talent just blossom, right?
Right, like he's a natural at basically everything he tries.
Yeah, he excels in music, naming Sympathy, you name it.
But at the same time, it's where his Edema background becomes a real source of prejudice and social isolation.
Oh, absolutely. He's constantly reminded that he's an outsider. He doesn't quite fit in with the privileged students at the university.
You could just feel his frustration.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is a place where knowledge is supposed to be prized.
Yeah.
Yet he faces all these obstacles just because of where he came from.
And I think that's where his pride comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like his fierce independence and his need to prove himself.
Right. It's like he's not content with just fitting in.
No, he has to excel. He has to be the best. He has to show everyone that they underestimated him.
Yeah. And you see that in his relentless pursuit of knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. Like he dives headfirst into naming, which is this incredibly complex magic system based on understanding the true essence of things.
And it's not just academic curiosity, is it?
No, it's deeper than that.
It's almost like he's searching for a way to control the forces that destroyed his world.
Exactly. And then there's Sympathy.
Right, which is a whole other can of worms.
It's a dangerous path,
Right.
One that requires incredible control and discipline.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to push the boundaries,
Not at all.
to experiment with these risky techniques.
He's a risk taker for sure.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
Is it all driven by this thirst for knowledge, or is there something deeper going on?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
It's this fascinating mix of intellectual curiosity and a deep-seated need to control his destiny after all the chaos he's experienced.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to master his own fate.
Exactly. And you know what's so brilliant about Rothfuss's writing is that he doesn't give us easy answers.
Right.
He leaves us to grapple with these questions, to really think about what's driving Kvothe.
Yeah, and that makes it all the more compelling.
Oh, absolutely. It keeps you coming back for more.
So we've got Kvothe at the university now.
Right.
He's trying to find his place in the world.
Yeah.
He's mastering these incredible skills. But it all comes back to that one defining moment.
The Chandrian.
Yeah.
The trauma that set him on this path in the first place.
And that's what really shapes his journey through the university.
It informs everything he does.
Yeah.
His quest for knowledge, his relationships, his ambitions.
Because let's be real, he's not just there for the academics.
No way.
He's on a mission.
He's obsessed with uncovering the truth about the Chandrian.
And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Oh, yeah, buckle up because things are about to get wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's not just about the Chandrian that makes his time at the university so fascinating.
What do you mean?
Well, I think it's also where we really see, all the contradictions in Kvothe's character start to emerge.
Okay, yeah. He's definitely a complex guy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's brilliant, resourceful, capable of these extraordinary feats.
Right.
But at the same time, he can be reckless or even self-sabotaging at times.
Yeah, he's definitely got a bit of a self-destructive streak.
He does, and I think that's part of what makes him so relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
He embodies the human condition, right?
Yeah, the potential for greatness.
Yeah.
And the capacity for, messing everything up.
Exactly. And those flaws become especially apparent, I think, in his relationships.
Yeah, okay, I see where you're going with this.
Take Edema, for example.
Oh boy, Dana.
Their connection is electric, right?
No, yeah.
Filled with passion and this incredible intellectual sparring.
Right, they're always challenging each other.
But it's also volatile.
Very volatile.
Marked by misunderstandings and misconnections.
So much drama.
So much drama. And I think part of it is that Kvothe, he wants to possess her.
Yeah, he's got kind of a controlling side.
He does. He wants to control their narrative, and I think that ultimately pushes her away.
Yeah, because she's her own person.
Exactly. And that possessiveness, that need for control, I think it echoes back to the trauma he experienced with the Chandrian.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I see what you're saying.
It's like he's trying to prevent another loss, another instance of his world being ripped apart.
By controlling everything and everyone around him.
Right. But in doing so, he creates the very distance that he fears.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah, and it's not just with Edema.
No, you're right. It's like a pattern in his life.
Exactly. Even his friendships, especially with those who challenge him.
Oh, yeah, like Ambrose.
Ambrose, exactly. He's the perfect foil to Kvothe.
Oh, he's such a jerk.
I know, right? But he represents everything that Kvothe despises.
Like privilege entitlement. That willingness to manipulate others to get ahead.
Exactly. And their rivalry, while entertaining, I think it highlights Kvothe's own capacity for pettiness and revenge.
Yeah, he can definitely hold a grudge.
He can, and you see that even in his interactions with his teachers and mentors.
Okay, yeah. He doesn't always make it easy for them.
He doesn't. He respects their knowledge, but he also chafes against authority.
Yeah, always needing to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room.
Right, and I think that goes back to his Edema upbringing.
Okay, how so?
Well, the value of self-reliance, of questioning tradition, it's deeply ingrained in him.
Right.
But at the university, it sometimes clashes with the hierarchical structure of academia.
Yeah, he doesn't really do well with rules.
No, he doesn't. And speaking of clashes, we can't forget his time with the Edema.
Oh, yeah, the warrior culture.
Exactly, with their strict code of conduct and their nonverbal language.
Totally different world.
A complete upheaval of Kvothe's world, and I think it's so fascinating how the Edema force him to confront his physical limitations, his dependence on words, and his often inflated ego.
Yeah, it's a serious reality check for him.
It's a crash course in humility, discipline, and the power of silence.
Which is not something that comes easily to Kvothe.
No, not at all. I mean, remember that scene where Vachette calls him a sexual compliment?
Oh, yeah, I love that scene.
It's hilarious because it completely throws him off guard.
Yeah, Kvothe, for all his brilliance, he's still pretty naive in some ways.
He is, and I think that encounter highlights the Edema's radically different perspective on gender roles and intimacy.
Yeah, it's a whole other way of looking at things.
It is, and it challenges Kvothe's assumptions and forces him to reconsider his own views on sexuality, control, personal freedom.
It's a pretty pivotal moment in his development, I think.
Oh, absolutely, and it speaks to the transformative power of encountering cultures that operate outside your familiar norms.
Mm-hmm.
And this theme of transformation, I think it continues in his encounter with Felurian,
Oh boy, Felurian.
the seductive and dangerous fairy queen.
Yeah. Their relationship is a whole other level of complicated.
It's a whirlwind of passion and magic, but it also reveals Kavoth's vulnerability.
And his susceptibility to temptation.
Oh, yeah. Felurian embodies both beauty and danger knowledge and chaos.
She's like a force of nature.
Exactly. And Kvothe, despite his intelligence and cunning, he can't fully control her.
No one can control Felurian.
Exactly. And their relationship, I think, is a classic example of the Faustian bargain.
Okay, how so?
Well, the allure of forbidden knowledge and the price one pays for seeking it.
Right.
It's a dangerous dance that leaves Kvothe forever changed, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't come out of that encounter unscathed.
Not at all. And it's interesting how Rothfuss uses these encounters with Denna Ambrose, the Edema Felurian,
Yeah.
to illuminate all these different facets of Kavoth's character.
Right, it's like each relationship pushes him to confront his strengths and weaknesses, his desires, his fears.
Exactly. And it's through these challenges that he's ultimately shaped into the complex figure we see in the frame story.
The man who becomes a legend.
Right, but also the man who ends up as Kvothe.
Right.
And that's the big mystery, isn't it?
Yeah. How does Kvothe, the legend, the hero of all these incredible tales, end up as Kvothe, the seemingly ordinary innkeeper?
It's the question that hangs over the entire story. Yeah, it really is like we're putting together this big puzzle with all these pieces of Kavoth's past,
Yeah.
all this brilliance and recklessness and trauma and triumphs, and we're just trying to figure out how it all fits together to make the man we see at the end.
Right, and to make it even more difficult, Rothfuss leaves these gaps in the narrative.
Oh yeah, for sure. He doesn't spell everything out for us.
Oh, he kind of throws these pieces at us and lets us figure it out.
It's like he trusts us to connect the dots,
Yeah, and that makes it so much more interesting, right?
Totally. We're not just passively reading the story.
Right, yeah.
We're actively trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that makes it so hard to figure out is that Kvothe is just so contradictory.
Oh, he's a walking paradox for sure.
Yeah, 1 minute he's capable of these incredible acts of kindness.
Right, like that scene where he protects those kids from the bullies. It's like this pure moment of heroism.
Right, and then the next he can be downright cruel.
Oh yeah, he can definitely hold a grudge.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder how much of his quest for knowledge is really about atoning for his past.
That's a good question. Is he trying to prove that he's not defined by his darker impulses?
Yeah, maybe it's all just a way to escape the guilt.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Rothfuss's writing so brilliant.
Right.
Kvothe isn't a simple hero or a villain.
He's both.
Yeah, he's human.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're so drawn to him.
Absolutely.
So I guess the big question is, we know how the story ends, at least for now.
Right, with Kvothe as Karos.
Yeah, how did that happen?
Well, I think Rothfuss gives us a lot of hints along the way, right?
Well, okay, like what?
Well, we see Kvothe's physical and emotional scars.
He's definitely been through a lot.
He has, and there's his reluctance to talk about his past.
Right, like he's hiding something.
Yeah, and then there's that whole encounter with the Kvothe.
Which is just creepy and ominous.
Totally. And then there's this recurring motif of silence throughout the books.
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Kvothe is this master storyteller. He commands attention with his words and his music.
Right.
And yet he chooses to be silent.
Like he's given up.
It's like he's renounced his former identity and just wants to disappear.
But there's still that glimmer of hope, right?
Yeah.
The fact that he's telling Chronicler his story.
Even if it's reluctantly.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to find redemption.
Or at least make sense of his past before it consumes him completely.
Yeah, and maybe by telling his story, he can finally heal.
Maybe.
And forgive himself.
It's possible.
So even though the story ends on this note of uncertainty,
right,
there's still a chance for Kvothe to find peace.
And that's what keeps us coming back to these books.
Yeah, the hope that maybe things will turn out okay in the end.
Exactly. And that's the power of the Kingkiller Chronicle.
It's a story that stays with you.
It makes you think about your own life, your own choices.
And the stories we tell ourselves.
So what will you take away from our deep dive today?
What questions are still swirling around in your head?
We encourage you to go back to the books.
Explore the world of Kvothe.
And come to your own conclusions.
Because ultimately, the Kingkiller Chronicle is a story about the human condition.
A search for meaning.
and the power of storytelling.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
And we'll see you back here for another deep dive